Stupid people are far more dangerous than criminals, not because they intend harm, but because they don't understand the harm they create. We live in a world where malice is easy to spot, yet ignorance hides in plain sight. A criminal has a motive, a goal, a pattern you can observe. But a foolish person, they act without awareness, without restraint, without the ability to predict consequences. And that makes them unpredictable, uncontrollable, and far more destructive. The Stoics warned us about this long before modern psychology did. Marcus Aurelius wrote that the human mind becomes dangerous when it loses its ability to reason, because a person who cannot see the truth will also fail to see the damage they bring into the lives of others. This video will uncover 7 Stoic truths that reveal why ignorance is the silent force that destroys relationships, opportunities, and peace, and how you can protect yourself from it. Truth 1. Stupidity harms you without benefit to them. A criminal chooses to harm you. A stupid person harms you by accident, and accidental harm is far more dangerous. Criminals operate on intention. They want something: money, status, power, and every action they take moves toward that goal. Their motives may be immoral, but at least they are visible. You can predict a criminal because their behavior follows a pattern. Stupidity, on the other hand, has no pattern, no motive, and no awareness of consequences. A foolish person can trigger destruction simply because they never pause long enough to understand the impact of their actions. This is why the Stoics viewed ignorance as one of the greatest human threats. Marcus Aurelius wrote that the human mind becomes harmful when it loses the ability to examine itself. A person who cannot see their own errors will repeat them endlessly, unaware of the chaos they generate. And chaos created without intention is harder to escape because it does not respond to warnings, logic, or accountability. Stupidity often causes more suffering than malice. Malice at least knows what it is doing. Think about the colleague who confidently gives wrong information, sending an entire team in the wrong direction. Or the friend who spreads a rumor they never verified, damaging relationships without meaning to. Or the relative who reacts emotionally, lashes out impulsively, and then insists they did nothing wrong. None of these people wake up with the desire to hurt you. Yet the pain they inflict feels just as real as intentional harm. That is the hidden danger. They destroy without realizing, and because they don't realize, they never stop. Stoicism teaches that you cannot reason with someone who lacks the capacity for self-reflection. When you try to correct them, they get defensive. When you try to explain the consequences, they become confused or offended. When you try to show them the damage, they deny it entirely. You cannot hold someone accountable if they do not understand accountability. And you cannot teach responsibility to someone who has never questioned their own assumptions. You cannot win a battle against someone who is not even aware a battle is happening. Your only real strategy is protection. Protection of your time, protection of your peace, protection of your emotional energy. Awareness is your first shield. Once you recognize that their behavior comes from ignorance rather than malice, you stop expecting change, clarity, or maturity from them. You no longer wait for an apology that will never come. You stop giving them influence over your mood, your decisions, or your direction in life. Instead, you establish boundaries that reflect reality, not your hopes. A foolish person may not be evil, but the consequences of their ignorance cut just as deeply. Stoicism reminds you that the wise guard their inner world fiercely, not out of cruelty, but out of the understanding that peace is fragile, and foolish people break fragile things without noticing. Your life becomes safer the moment you stop giving unwise people the power to shape it. Truth 2. Stupidity thrives on overconfidence. The most dangerous person in the room is not the one who knows nothing, but the one who knows nothing and believes they know everything. This is the paradox the Stoics warned us about. Ignorance rarely comes alone. It brings a companion, overconfidence. A foolish person is not merely unaware. They are convinced they are correct. They speak loudly, act boldly, and make decisions with absolute certainty, even when they have no understanding of the situation. Meanwhile, people with genuine competence tend to question themselves, evaluate their limits, and think carefully before acting. This imbalance creates a dangerous dynamic. The ignorant move fast. The wise move intentionally. And speed without wisdom creates wreckage. Psychology calls this the Dunning-Kruger effect, but the Stoics understood it centuries earlier. Epictetus wrote that the uneducated mind is full of opinions, while the trained mind is full of questions. Foolish people do not seek truth. They seek validation. They do not analyze. They assume. And assumptions made with confidence can lead to decisions that harm families, teams, communities, and even themselves. Overconfidence turns ignorance into impact. It transforms a harmless flaw into a destructive force. Think of the co-worker who insists they are right, even when facts contradict them. Or the friend who gives terrible advice but delivers it with absolute certainty. Or the online commenter who speaks with authority on topics they've never studied. These people are not malicious, but their confidence gives their ignorance power. Others follow them, trust them, or hesitate to challenge them until the consequences become impossible to ignore. Stoicism teaches us that true wisdom begins with humility. Marcus Aurelius constantly reminded himself how much he didn't know, even as the most powerful man in the world. Wisdom softens the ego, slows impulsiveness, and invites deeper understanding. But ignorance does the opposite. It inflates the ego, accelerates decisions, and blocks learning. A foolish person cannot grow because they believe they've already arrived. When you encounter someone like this, reasoning becomes nearly impossible. Their confidence becomes a shield that protects their ignorance from correction. The more you try to help, the more resistance you face. And the more resistance you face, the more energy you lose. Over time, you realize you're not dealing with a lack of information. You're dealing with a lack of awareness. That is why Stoics encourage distance rather than debate. You cannot wake someone who refuses to admit they are asleep. You cannot guide someone who believes they are already ahead of you. You cannot teach someone who sees questions as threats rather than invitations to grow. Your duty is not to fix them, but to protect yourself. Preserve your clarity, preserve your time, preserve your inner balance. Wise people do not wrestle with arrogance. They step aside and let consequences do the teaching. The less a person knows, the more certain they become. And that certainty is far more dangerous than their ignorance. Truth 3. Stupidity spreads faster than malice. Malice requires intention. Stupidity requires nothing, and that is why it spreads further, faster, and with far greater impact. A malicious person must think, plan, and act with purpose. Their harm is calculated. Their influence takes effort. But stupidity moves effortlessly, like a spark in dry grass. It doesn't need strategy. It doesn't need awareness. It needs only one thing, a person who speaks or acts without understanding what they're passing on. And because foolish people act quickly and confidently, their influence travels farther than they ever intended. This is why Stoics feared ignorance more than evil. Evil has limits. It needs a motive, a plan, and a certain kind of mind to sustain it. Ignorance, however, has no boundaries. It can flow through anyone. Friends, co-workers, strangers online, even well-meaning family members. Marcus Aurelius warned that most human conflict is born not from hatred, but from people who simply do not see clearly. A foolish person can spread chaos without ever realizing they were the source. Think of rumors. One careless statement becomes a fact, and before long, it reshapes reputations. Or think of misinformation. A single unverified belief gets shared by someone confident but uninformed, and it multiplies until entire groups act on falsehoods. Or think of emotional contagion. One person panics, reacts, and exaggerates, causing an entire environment to unravel. Malice might destroy moments. Stupidity can destroy systems. Stoicism teaches that the untrained mind reacts without examination. It grabs the nearest belief, the nearest emotion, the nearest explanation, and spreads it without filtering. A foolish person does not ask, "Is this true?" or "What are the consequences?" They ask, "Does this feel right at the moment?" And feelings, when unchecked, can become a wildfire. Chaos born from ignorance grows faster than reason can contain. This is why engaging with foolish behavior often feels like drowning. You correct one misunderstanding and 3 more emerge. You clarify a situation and another confusion replaces it. You stop one rumor and someone else revives a different version. The problem is not the individual, it is the speed at which ignorance reproduces itself. Stoics tell us to withdraw our energy from these fires. You cannot put out a blaze fueled by impulsiveness with logic alone. You cannot slow a flood by explaining the water. Instead, you must step back, anchor yourself, and protect the integrity of your own mind. Clarity becomes your shield. Discernment becomes your compass. Silence becomes your strategy. Not every falsehood deserves a correction. Not every argument deserves a response. Not every fool deserves a seat in the circle of your attention. Your responsibility is to prevent their confusion from becoming your confusion. Preserve your peace by choosing where your mind engages. Protect your time by refusing to chase every distorted narrative. Strengthen your boundaries so the noise around you does not become noise within you. Stupidity spreads quickly, but wisdom spreads intentionally. Choose intention. Protect your clarity. Guard your mind. Truth 4. A stupid person cannot see the damage they cause. You can reason with a criminal. You cannot reason with someone who doesn't realize they've done anything wrong. This is what makes stupidity uniquely dangerous. A criminal knows they are harming you. There is awareness, intention, and often a motive. You can negotiate with intention, calculate risk, predict behavior, and understand the logic behind their actions. But a foolish person, they operate without self-observation. They move through life unaware of the chaos they create, convinced their perspective is correct, and blind to the consequences they trigger. The Stoics warned us that the greatest burden is dealing with those who cannot examine themselves. Seneca wrote that the unwise walk through life asleep, harming others not out of cruelty, but out of unconsciousness. And unconscious harm is the hardest to stop, because the person causing it does not believe harm exists. They see themselves as victims, as righteous, or as misunderstood, not as participants in the destruction unfolding around them. A foolish person breaks things accidentally. Relationships, trust, opportunities, peace, and then wonders why everything around them falls apart. Think about someone who lashes out in anger yet insists they were just being honest, or someone who constantly interrupts, dominates conversations, or makes thoughtless decisions and then seems shocked when others withdraw. Or the person who repeatedly makes careless mistakes that cost time, money, or emotional energy, but still believes they're doing their best. These behaviors aren't rooted in malice. They're rooted in blindness. And blindness cannot correct itself. A foolish person almost never says, "Maybe I'm the problem." They externalize blame. They rewrite reality in their favor. They build a story where they are the misunderstood hero and everyone else is unreasonable. This inability to recognize their own role in conflict traps them in a loop of repeating the same patterns. Meanwhile, you are left carrying the weight of their unexamined choices. You cannot heal someone who cannot admit they are hurting others. Stoicism teaches that your responsibility is not to reform the unwise, but to protect yourself from being entangled in their chaos. Trying to teach self-awareness to someone who resists it drains your energy. Trying to hold them accountable frustrates you because they do not accept accountability. Trying to explain the damage they caused only makes them defensive, confused, or offended. So the Stoic approach is clarity and boundaries. Clarity about what you can and cannot change. Clarity about their limitations. Clarity about your threshold for tolerance. And boundaries that reflect reality, not your optimism. You create distance not out of judgment, but out of self-preservation. You reduce expectations not out of resentment, but out of wisdom. You stop fighting battles they cannot even see. Their lack of awareness is not your responsibility. Your peace is. A foolish person may not intend harm, but their blindness multiplies it. The sooner you recognize this limitation, the sooner you stop participating in a dynamic that only drains you. With awareness comes freedom. With boundaries comes peace. And with peace comes the wisdom to walk away from people who cannot see what they break. Truth 5. Stupid people are unpredictable. You can anticipate the moves of someone with bad intentions. You cannot anticipate the moves of someone who has no idea what they're doing. Predictability is what allows us to defend ourselves. When a person follows a pattern, good or bad, you can see the trajectory of their behavior, understand their motives, and prepare accordingly. A criminal, at the very least, acts with purpose. Their actions are guided by desire and strategy. But stupidity is chaotic. Its behavior has no rhythm, no logic, no internal compass. A foolish person might act kindly one moment, recklessly the next, and destructively the moment after, all without seeing the shift. Stoics feared this kind of mind because unpredictability is a threat to stability. Epictetus taught that danger grows when actions arise not from rational choice, but from unexamined impulses. A foolish person responds to whatever emotion hits them in the moment. If they feel offended, they lash out. If they feel confident, they make decisions they're not qualified to make. If they feel insecure, they sabotage situations without realizing why. A foolish mind has no governor, no filter, no brakes. Think of the co-worker who suddenly accuses someone without evidence, or the friend who overreacts dramatically to something minor, or the family member who makes an impulsive financial decision that affects everyone else. These people don't stop to evaluate consequences. They don't think past the next 5 seconds. And because their reactions are emotion-driven rather than thought-driven, you can never anticipate where the next outburst, mistake, or disaster will come from. This unpredictability forces you into a constant state of vigilance. You tiptoe around them. You soften your words. You brace for their reactions. Your nervous system becomes trained to expect the unexpected. But the Stoics remind us that living this way drains our inner peace and fractures our clarity. You cannot anchor yourself in wisdom while walking on unpredictable ground. You cannot maintain emotional stability while someone else's volatility controls the rhythm of your environment. And you cannot cultivate self-mastery while constantly adjusting yourself to the chaos of another person's mind. Unpredictability is its own form of violence, silent, subtle, and relentless. A foolish person does not wake up intending to disrupt your life, but their inability to regulate themselves becomes your responsibility if you remain unprotected. They leave you cleaning up emotional messes, resolving conflicts they sparked, or stabilizing situations they destabilized. Over time, you internalize their chaos as if it is normal, until you forget what calm even feels like. Stoicism teaches you to detach from unstable personalities, not with anger, not with superiority, but with a quiet understanding that your peace cannot thrive in unpredictable soil. Your boundaries become your safety. Your discernment becomes your shield. Your distance becomes your liberation. You do not need to predict someone who cannot control themselves. You only need to stop giving them the power to disrupt your life. Unpredictable people do not change when you help them. They change only when reality confronts them, and your absence, your silence, your clarity may be the first reality they've ever had to face. Truth 6. Stupidity consumes your energy, peace, and time. A criminal may steal your money. A stupid person steals something far more valuable: your peace of mind. When you deal with a foolish person, the first thing you lose is clarity. Their confusion becomes your confusion. Their emotional chaos becomes your emotional burden. Their inability to think things through forces you to think twice as hard. You start cleaning up their mistakes, calming their reactions, and explaining things that never should have needed explanation. Over time, you realize you have become the caretaker of someone else's irresponsibility. Stoics warn that nothing drains the human spirit faster than unnecessary emotional labor. Marcus Aurelius wrote that we must protect the mind from being pulled like a puppet by the actions of others. Foolish people turn you into exactly that, a puppet reacting to their unfiltered impulses. They don't intend to drain you, but the result is the same. You feel exhausted, irritated, and mentally scattered because you're constantly compensating for their lack of awareness. Stupidity is a sinkhole, silent, slow, and relentless. Think of conversations where you must repeat yourself 3 times, or decisions you must re-explain because they didn't listen the first time, or arguments that spiral for hours because they don't understand context, nuance, or logic. These interactions chip away at your patience and your emotional bandwidth. You walk away feeling heavier, as if your energy evaporated into thin air. This is the hidden danger. You don't notice the damage immediately. It accumulates quietly, and by the time you see it, you're already drained. Stoicism teaches that your inner peace is your most valuable asset. A wise person guards their mental energy the way a warrior guards a shield. But foolish people operate like tiny fractures in that shield. Each small, but together they weaken the whole. Every pointless debate, every misunderstanding, every emotional outburst pulls from your reserves. And while you spend energy repairing the moment, they continue unaware of the cost they impose on you. You cannot be your best self while constantly managing someone else's chaos. This is why dealing with foolish people feels like walking through emotional mud. Your progress slows, your focus blurs, your motivation loses momentum. You become stuck in conversations you never wanted, responsibilities you never asked for, and emotional climates you never created. And worst of all, you begin to normalize this drain, as if exhaustion is the price you must pay to keep the peace. But Stoicism offers a different truth. Peace kept by self-sacrifice is not peace, it's surrender. The solution is not to fix them, teach them, or endlessly accommodate them. The solution is to reclaim your energy by refusing to invest it where it will only be wasted. By stepping back from draining conversations, by refusing to explain yourself repeatedly, by limiting access to people who exhaust your spirit, by recognizing that your energy is finite and not everyone deserves a share of it. A foolish person doesn't mean to drain you, but drain you they will, until you decide your peace matters more. You recover your life the moment you refuse to let stupidity define the rhythm of your day. You recover your strength when you stop pouring into empty cups. And you recover your peace when you realize not every battle is worth fighting, and not every person is worth your energy. Truth 7. Wisdom is your only defense against stupidity. You cannot change a foolish person. You can only change the amount of power they have over your life. This is one of the harshest truths the Stoics confronted. You cannot rescue someone who refuses to question themselves. You cannot enlighten someone who believes they already understand everything. You cannot guide someone who does not see the need for guidance. A foolish person cannot be corrected because they do not recognize their own ignorance, and without that recognition, no growth is possible. Stoicism teaches that the wise are not defined by what they know, but by their willingness to keep learning. A foolish person has the opposite trait, a rigid mind sealed shut by pride, emotion, and certainty. And because their mind is closed, your influence is limited. You cannot open a door that someone else is determined to keep locked. This is why your greatest defense is not persuasion, correction, or confrontation. It is wisdom. Wisdom to recognize their limitations. Wisdom to decide how close you allow them to you. Wisdom to protect your peace before it becomes collateral damage in their self-inflicted disasters. Wisdom is not passive. Wisdom is strategic. Wisdom draws boundaries before harm has a chance to grow. Think about how many times you've tried explaining something to someone who simply couldn't grasp it. Or how many times you've watched someone repeat the same mistake even after being warned. Or the frustration of watching someone create chaos and then blame everyone but themselves. These moments aren't failures of communication. They're the reality of dealing with a mind that does not examine itself. A foolish person does not lack information, they lack introspection. And introspection is the root of all self-improvement. Marcus Aurelius wrote that nothing threatens a person more than the illusions they refuse to see through. A foolish mind is trapped inside those illusions. They are prisoners of their impulses, their reactions, and their untested beliefs. And because they cannot see the prison, they cannot escape it. You, however, can escape them. Stoicism empowers you to step away from people who refuse to step into awareness, not out of cruelty, but out of self-preservation. Not out of arrogance, but out of clarity. When you recognize that someone's ignorance is immovable, you stop sacrificing your time, your energy, and your emotional stability to battles you cannot win. You defend yourself not by changing them, but by strengthening yourself. Wisdom teaches you discernment, who is worth your effort and who is not. Wisdom teaches you patience, when silence is the better choice. Wisdom teaches you boundaries, where your responsibility ends and theirs begins. Wisdom teaches you peace, how to walk away without guilt. In the end, foolish people remain dangerous, not because of their intentions, but because of their unexamined minds. You cannot fix that, but you can refuse to let it shape your life. Your wisdom is your armor, your clarity is your shield, and your boundaries are the walls that keep chaos out. When you choose wisdom, you choose freedom. When you choose discernment, you choose peace. And when you choose peace, you choose a life no fool can disrupt. In this video, we uncovered a difficult truth. Stupidity, unexamined, unrestrained, and unaware, can be far more dangerous than intentional wrongdoing. It harms unintentionally, spreads rapidly, resists correction, drains your energy, and often leaves you carrying the weight of someone else's chaos. But the Stoics remind us that awareness is protection, and wisdom is the shield that keeps your inner world intact. As you move through your life, practice what we explored today. Recognize the patterns, protect your peace, set boundaries without guilt, and choose distance when someone's ignorance begins to shape your emotional landscape. You don't need to fix them, you only need to stay grounded in your own clarity and reason. Thank you for spending your time with me today. Your presence here shows your commitment to wisdom, growth, and inner strength. Take what you've learned and apply even one insight this week. You'll feel the difference in your peace and your confidence. I'll see you in the next video. Until then, stay steady, stay aware, and stay rooted in wisdom.